Welcome to A1R Psychic Radio here on Moonstruck TV with Amanda Hall, psychic, all the way from the Gold Coast here in Australia. I hope you've had an absolutely fantastic week wherever you are in this amazing planet of ours. It's been a big week news-wise, and we're not going to talk about that. We're going to go straight into the Simply Tarot card of the week, which is the Ace of Swords. Now, this is an ambiguous sort of card, and when I used to do a lot of teaching, my students used to find this card really difficult to understand because it is the card of frustration. Now, look, I don't know anybody on the planet that doesn't have some sort of frustration at some stage or another in their life. We can't get through life without frustration occasionally. It's also the card of the double-edged sword. So by that, it means it could go either way. It could sort of go this way or it could go that way. The sword, it's the double-edged sword. It's also the card of hollow victory. Now, sometimes when we get a victory or we achieve something that we've been striving and working so hard to achieve, that when it happens, it's sort of like it's flat. It's a hollow victory. It's like, oh, is that all? I thought I'd feel differently. I thought I'd be happier or I'd be jumping for joy, but all of a sudden I feel numb. Or I feel absolutely nothing at all. That's the hollow victory. So when this card comes out in a reading, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're not going to win or you're not going to achieve what it is that you've been aiming to achieve. It's just saying to you, maybe look at things from a different perspective. Look at it from the double edge. Look at it from one side to the other. Yes, it can be the famine or the feast, but that's what hollow victories are about. You know, you could maybe gain the feast, but you still sort of feel as if you're in your own personal famine. So when this card comes out, look at how you're going to reorganize things, how you're going to reorganize your thinking, and maybe look at what's ahead of you in a completely different way, and then you'll find more balance. Okay, so we're going to move on to the astrology section of the week. We're into the last few days of the Cancerian time, or the Cancer time of the year. So happy birthday for the late Cancers. It's a time for most of us to sort of regroup. When the sun's in Cancer, here in the Southern Hemisphere, it's cold, it's winter, it's cold, and we're all complaining about the cold, and it's sort of, you know, snowing not far from me, which is very rare in Queensland that we get temperatures that low that it's snowing within a few hours drive. Mind you, it's only a few flakes, but, you know, we're complaining. And, you know, and it's a time where we sort of rug up, sort of, if you're lucky enough to have a fire, you sit by the fire and drink hot chocolate and play board games or watch Netflix or something on the telly and sort of, you know, read a good book. But for the Northern Hemisphere people, and it's a time of family. It's a time of getting out, enjoying yourself, enjoying the great outdoors, having a barbecue, having a cookout, having a picnic, enjoying family get-togethers, because it's a bountiful time of the year. So even though it's a time of two different halves of the Southern Hemisphere, of everybody buckling in and staying indoors and spending time with family that way and snuggling up in the warmth, it's in the Northern Hemisphere, it's the exact opposite. We want to get out, we want to explore, we want to enjoy what family's got to bring, and, you know, so to get out and have a gathering in the park or gather by the waterside, or, you know, do something really special and have a barbecue and enjoy the warmer weather. So it's a really special time. It's a time for us to reconnect with ourselves and reconnect with those that are the closest to us. Now, we have Venus, the planet of love and affection, is sitting in Leo at the moment. Now, with Venus sitting here, it's going to be affecting or bringing more energy towards the fire signs, which is Leo, Sagittarius, and Aries. And the opposite sign is Aquarius. So we need to be very careful here how we look at Venus, because we're looking for great attention, and particularly the Leos. They're looking for the world to look at them, to sort of say, look at me, aren't I important, aren't I clever? And we won't mention somebody that also is a Leo that's had a lot of publicity or press around the world in the last few days. But it's a time where we need to make sure that we keep our ego in check as well. Nobody likes somebody that's terribly boastful and running around telling you how important they are all the time. It can turn people off you. So be careful not to become boastful or let your ego run away with yourself. It's a time, if you're looking for love, that you need to get out into places that maybe you don't venture into often. So it's sort of look at the things that Leo represents. If you're looking for love, no matter what your star sign is, you need to get out in public events. Go to a play, go to a stage event, go to a concert, go to something in the park, do something where there's loads of people around, and you've got more chance of meeting someone. So if you are seeking love or searching for that someone special in your life, make sure you get out amongst the crowd. We also have Mercury, the planet of communication, is sitting in Leo at the moment. And I know I cautioned a little bit on this on the last show about making sure that you don't get aggressive or angry if you need to communicate something that's very important, or something that gets you all fired up and riled up, make sure that you tone your temper down. Tone the way that you deliver the message, because sometimes you can get people offside just by your attitude and the way that you've come in roaring like a lion, instead of coming in a very forthright, dynamic way, and but be forceful but in a calmer tone. You'll get further if you do that. If you come in roaring like a lion and rant and rave and jump up and down, you won't really get people's attention. You'll just rub them up the wrong way and they'll switch their listening ears off, and nothing will be achieved. So be very careful of that. If you have some important conversations that you've got to say, or communication with other people, make sure that it's definite, it's strong, but it's not dictatorial and it's not bossy. Because the moment you do that, they'll switch off and you'll lose the opportunity to get your message across in a dynamic sort of way. So we're now moving to Uranus is in Taurus. Now, Uranus in Taurus is going to affect Tauruses. It's going to affect Virgo, Capricorn, and the opposite sign of Scorpio. So for the other remaining 8 signs, it's just going to wash over us. It's not going to be as intense or as strong. So we've got Uranus, the planet of the unusual and unexpected, is conjunct or holding hands with Mars in Taurus. Now, Uranus is first. So Uranus is like the planet of the unusual, the unexpected, like the bolt of lightning, things that can come out of nowhere. Now, it can be positive or negative. So it's clearing a pathway. So we need to be very aware of that there could be opportunities that will come literally out of nowhere that are clearing a pathway. May not always be to our liking to begin with, but bear in mind it will end up being for our own good. So we need to be aware of this very fast moving energy, because Mars is conjunct or holding hands with the planet Uranus here. Now, Mars is the planet of action. It's the planet of war. It's the one that gets us out of bed. It's our ego. It's our drive. It's where we sort of, get motivated from. So we need to be very careful here that as openings happen, and we may not be particularly happy with them to begin with, we don't get our angry hat on or our war hat on and say, bang, 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 this is how this is going to be. I'm not putting up with this. We need to stop, take a breath, and look at why the situation's happened. It may not be to our liking, but maybe it could be turned around into something incredibly positive, or an incredible opportunity that we wouldn't have had this not happened. So maybe just by taking a breath or two or a moment or two to think about it and analyze it and look at it, maybe we can see a different perspective that Uranus is trying to share with us. Then we've got the determination and the energy of Mars to bring it to fruition. It's not always meaning it has to be negative. It can be the most amazing opportunity that's come through the door too. And again, I would say stop, take a breath, absorb it, look at it, how you're going to handle it, and sort of then proceed. Don't just go like the bull in the china shop at 110 mile an hour and then think, oh, gee, I wish I'd just, done it this way or that way. I would have got a better result. That's why I'm cautioning, no matter whether it's positive or negative, stop, look and listen, take a couple of breaths, reassess the situation, and then go forward. We have Jupiter, the planet of expansion and opportunity and luck, is sitting in Gemini at the moment. So it's going to be there for another 6 months or so. So it's really opening the doors to opportunities for Gemini. So, look around your local environment, sort of keep your ear to the ground when you're communicating with people. There may just be some opportunities that are going to land in your lap that you need to be very aware of. Now, this is going to also be affecting Librans and Aquarians. So it's, it is a time of golden opportunities, but those golden opportunities only come to us if we've really worked for them or we deserve them. Just because Jupiter's there in Gemini doesn't mean everything you're going to touch has the Midas touch and it's going to turn to gold and you're going to be, doing the yippee dance. It means that you still need to be aware that sometimes we can want things that aren't necessarily good for us, or we can exaggerate things or embellish things. And Jupiter here can take things to bigger heights, sometimes to heights that are exaggerated or not necessarily healthy for us. So we need to make sure that we keep it in check as well. So just be aware of that. The opposite sign is Sagittarius. So they may be experiencing a little bit more of a push-pull situation, that there is opportunities coming their way, but it's also a time of, do I really want it? I really need to sort of check out the competition, check everything out from every possible angle, because Gemini is very flighty sort of energy and sort of, a little bit like the social butterfly. flitting from one situation to another and never really standing still to maybe sometimes analyze things carefully enough, where the Sagittarian energy is a little bit more forthright than that. Yes, they do like opportunities, they do like the grass being greener on the other side of the fence, but they also need a certain amount of stability. They can be quite deep thinkers, but very quickly. And that's why people don't give them a lot of credit for being a deep thinker, but they can do it in a matter of seconds, where it takes a lot of the other signs a lot, much, much longer process before you come to the same realization. So for Saggies, what I'm going to suggest to you is that yes, there's opportunities out there, but make sure they're the opportunities that you want. There's always a price tag attached to a new opportunity, and that may be, you're getting a new job where you've got more income coming in, but what's the ramifications of that? Is it taking you away from family life? Is there more hours expected of you? Is there more responsibility? And if all those things are comfortable with you and you get the opportunity, then grab it with both hands. If you're not, then say thank you. I gracefully decline. I'll wait for the next bus to come along. So we're also moving into what's known as part of the karmic part of the chart. Now, this will affect each and every one of us, but it will affect this particular sign the most is Scorpio, followed by Pisces, followed by Cancer, and the opposite sign of Taurus. So, and it'll then wash over the other remaining signs. Now, what I'm talking about is known as a part of fortune. Now, part of fortune is not where we find the rainbow with the pot of gold at the end of it, with the leprechauns doing the happy dance. It's where we want to feel most fortunate in our lives, or where we want to bring in some new opportunities or things that surround us that make us smile. Now, this part of fortune, which is a karmic part, is holding hands or conjunct the moon. So what I'm sort of leaning towards with this, that the part of fortune is asking us to find happiness or balance within ourselves on an emotional level. Now, look, it doesn't matter what your star sign is. In the last couple of months, every star sign's been touched in some form or another, where there's been adjustments and decisions to be made, opportunities that some people have been able to grab with both hands. Other people have had opportunities that have slipped through their fingers. No matter what it is, it's left a very emotional situation there for everyone. And it's like a lot of people are feeling sort of a little bit emotionally wrung out at the moment. Now, what I'm feeling from this with the part of fortune there and being in such an intense sign in Scorpio, it's going to start to slowly fill us up again on an emotional level. Now, for some people, the emotions may be a little bit negative or a little bit dark or very intense, and you think, I don't want to go there, I don't want to look at it. Well, do it in small, manageable bites. Don't do it in big pieces if you can't manage it emotionally or whatever way. Just do it in small, manageable sections, and that way you will gain the maximum out of this. Now, this is not going to be around us for much more than about 48 hours, so please don't waste this very powerful, intense energy. Make sure that you work with it, no matter what your star sign is. It's an opportunity to look at things, understand them, own them, and then let them go. We all are constantly changing and moving very fast at the moment in our lives, that we need to make sure that we're processing things and completely letting them go before we move on to the next part. We still have Chiron in Aries, so for the fire signs and particularly Aries, it's a time of sort of understanding where the wounds are coming from. Are they past life situations? Are they current life situations? This Chiron will be affecting the fire signs above anything. It's Aries, Leo, Sagittarius, and the opposite sign of Libra. So it's asking us to sort of go dig deep into our soul, understand those things that we maybe need to be looking at, that we need to sit in that sort of energy, look at it, understand what the lessons were, what we gained from it, and then release it. Particularly for Aries, it's a time when there could be changing direction, that you were on a pathway and you were very set on that sort of pathway, but all of a sudden it's like other ideas are niggling around the edge of the circle, sort of trying to poke a hole in it and saying, well, have you thought about this? Have you looked at it in that way? Doesn't mean one's right or wrong. It just means please have an open mind, please remain flexible. The best laid plans of men and mice may need to change, because things, life is not static. It's always constantly growing and changing, and it's a very spiritual or emotional time for Aries in particular, where there is a lot of growth to be made on a spiritual sort of level, and very much a lot of healing to be happening. So don't waste these opportunities. We're going to take our first caller, and it's Ashley in the Providence of Rhode Island in the USA. Are you there, Ashley?
Yes, I am. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you, sweetie. Do you have a question I can answer for you?
Yeah, I was just wondering about maybe love life or if there's a message from somebody who passed.
Darling, they don't necessarily just all jump in just because we're here from the other side. It's sort of, we have such a limited time, and sometimes it takes them a little bit longer if they want to come through with a message. But if they do, I certainly will share one with you. Do you have anybody in particular that you're looking at as far as your love life? If so, can I just have their first initial, please?
Not anybody in particular.
No? Okay.
Me and my sons actually we just got our own apartment, so we're starting completely fresh and over. And I left a 16-year relationship, so
Okay. Now, I always ask because sometimes people have got somebody of interest that, the sparks haven't flown yet and they want to know about, the potential of the relationship. Look, I'm sorry that your 16-year relationship came to an end, but maybe it was time for that to come to an end too, that maybe the growth that was in the relationship had exhausted itself and it was time for the two of you to part company. You seem to be hanging on to far too much emotion connected to that. Over the next couple of days, the next week, I want you to sort of allow that to come in and look at it, known it, and then dismiss it. Let it go. We don't need to be taking that into the next part of your life, the next chapter of your life. I do actually see love coming into your life, and I don't feel it's going to be just yet. It's like not until around about October, November this year before I think the right person is going to cross your path. And I'm not saying don't go on a date between now and then. I'm just saying just be open to what the universe brings towards you, knowing that you may not find that special someone till around that time of the year. That's the very earliest. It's not necessarily when it's going to happen, but that's what they're showing me on your soul's timeline, that that's the earliest that someone's coming in. It's actually interesting because I've got two gentlemen coming towards you. One's got sort of blonde, wavy hair. If his hair was longer, we'd sort of see almost it kicking up at the ends, almost slightly curly. I like him. He's playful. He's fun to be with. I'm just not sure that he's mature enough for you. That's my only criticism about this guy. I mean, look, you'll have fun, you go out, you laugh, you have a good time, but you sort of start to feel after you've been on about 4 or 5 dates with him, I don't see a serious side. I don't see a grown up side to him. It's sort of almost like a child in a man's body. And maybe that's what you need just for a little while to sort of go out, have some fun, learn how to let your hair down, and know that that's not necessarily what you want in a partner long term. The second gentleman that comes in has got more mid brown hair, bluey greeny coloured eyes too, but he seems to be more together. It's sort of like, yes, there's a playful side there, but there's also a grown up side, a responsible side there as well. And I think he's self employed. He's the one that I've got my money on. I really like him. I think it's going to be a slow growing relationship, but I feel it will develop into something very, very serious. And I think the two of you'll have a good life together. There's quite a bit of activity from the other side, but there's nobody really sort of jumping forward, actually giving me a specific message. It's sort of like they're all lined up there as if they're going to a rock concert, holding their breath, waiting for the show to start. So I feel that they're doing that in anticipating, waiting for your show to start, for your life to start moving forward, for your life to start sort of unfolding. So is that how you've been feeling? That sort of like you're waiting for everything to get going?
yes, 100%.
Yeah, and that's what they're showing me from the other side. It's like collectively all your passed over relatives are standing there at the gate waiting, waiting for something to sort of happen so that then they can sort of all leap into action and help you in whatever way that their role is. So I wouldn't look at this as a negative. I'd look at this as very much a positive and know that you've got a lot of people on the other side working or waiting to work for you or to work with you to help you. So, you know, we need to sort of work through these emotions. That was the most important thing they showed me. And then once that's sort of sorted, then there will be opportunities to sort of start, building a life again and getting out there and having some fun. And it's really good. Anyway, Ashley, that's where we're going to leave it. I hope that you'll find what you're looking for, but don't be frightened to sort of change your mind. If it feels great today and tomorrow you got a different version of what you want, that's okay too. Eventually it'll all level out and you'll know exactly what the path is that you want to, embark on and what you hope to achieve. We're going to talk with Denise in Memphis in Tennessee. Are you there, Denise?
Yes, I'm here.
Do you have a question I can answer for you, please, Denise?
Yes, I just wanted to look at two things. I know I just got a divorce, so trying to figure out my love life situation and if you see
Right.
anything like a promotion.
Okay, all right. Look, it's always interesting when we go through massive changes in our lives, like a divorce, Denise, that it's sort of like then it overflows into other areas of our life too, that we start looking at other things like work and friends and family and, reorganizing and revamping and re-energizing things. And that's a good thing because, it has been a major shift in your life and you've had to sort of, work through the positive and the negative emotions that all swell up around the time of a divorce because it is a sad time, even though it's a time we know and a decision we know we have to make. It is still sort of a loss, and people don't look at it as a loss. They look at it, oh well, that was a mistake and it didn't work out. Nothing is ever a mistake. I don't believe we get married to get divorced, but sometimes it doesn't pan out the way that we had hoped or anticipated. So you need to own all those emotions and be able to work through them. Look, I do feel that there's going to be new love, but darling, I'm going to say it's not going to be till next year. And I'm not saying that you're going to sit at home alone every day of the week and not, go out and have a social life. I just think until about March next year, I want you to be footloose and fancy free. I want you to go out, enjoy yourself, go on a date. If somebody pops up that, asks you out on a date and you feel comfortable with it, go out. I want you to experience life again. I feel that you need to understand who the new Denise is becoming. And you're not necessarily going to fall back into those old habit patterns that you were in when you were married. I want this new, beautiful Denise to emerge. You're like a rose, the bud's there, but we want to see it start to blossom and we want to see it start to open up. So that's a good thing. As far as the job situation is concerned, look, I do feel that there will be a change of job. I don't feel very comfortable with where you're working at the moment. There seems to be too many chiefs and not enough Indians running around there. And there's a real negative sort of energy going through the place. The best thing that you can do is just put your head down, do your job to the best of your ability. Don't get involved in any of the so-called office politics that are going on around you and he said this and she said that. Just don't get involved. Look as if you're interested. Oh, fancy that. Oh, really? But you're not saying anything much. You're looking as if you're really interested in what somebody's got to say, but you're not taking it on board and you're really not offering an opinion. I do feel that there could be a new job as early as September. They're showing me sort of like from now till then, there seems to be a number of jobs that you'll sort of think about or actually apply to that, you won't get interviews to everything, but I want you to sort of, make it broad. Don't just sort of make it a narrow job search. Make it sort of a little bit more exciting, a little bit more interesting, something that's going to stretch you, something where you might only have 75% of the capabilities, but the other 25% you'd be prepared to learn. Let's just open your world up to a lot of new potential. This next job, I feel, will be reasonably close to home. I think it gives you flexibility and it certainly gives you a better pay packet at the end of the week and better, benefits and things like that. It's time for change. And you're embracing change, Denise, in the most positive of ways. And that's a good thing because, you had such a long period of time prior to the divorce where I think you actually sort of felt stuck. You felt as if your life was quite stale and it was stuck and it was sort of like everything went at a snail's pace. Well, now everything's going sort of like a rocket, but I just want to pull it back a little bit and sort of say, let's just enjoy the journey as well. We don't need everything to go at a frenetic pace all the time. We do need to pull it back and hold on to the reins a little bit. And that way you'll gain more out of it. But you're going into a very beautiful area of your life, Denise, and you're going to emerge like this beautiful butterfly out of, being in the cocoon for so long. Oh, it's lovely to see, Denise. So I hope that's helped you, sweetie.
Thank you. That helped a lot. Thank you so much.
You're very, very welcome. That's Denise, and we've been talking with Ashley, and both of these ladies are going through massive changes. There's lots of people are around the world at the moment. There's lots of change in the air. This week, I want to leave you with a very, very, very special song. Um, I'm always fairly busy, but I do try and get some downtime and watch a movie or watch a documentary or something occasionally. I find that really sort of recharges my batteries. And last night, I actually sat down in front of the telly and watched something on Netflix here in Australia, which was very close to my heart and I'm very passionate about. And I think even after all these years, it's still something that I think the world should, unite on and sort of come together again in a positive way. And I'm talking about the documentary on the making of the USA Africa, We Are the World. And the documentary is called The Greatest Night of Pop. Well, I found it so uplifting, so inspiring, and so amazing to see so many wonderful singers that all came together to make this beautiful song to raise money to feed the children in Africa that were starving and dying. Wouldn't it be amazing if we could turn around and do something like that again, instead of focusing on all the wars and the politics and all the garbage in the world, that we all united as a world and did something positive again like that? That, there wasn't a country in the world, whether they spoke English or not, they all felt the energy and the power of that song. Wouldn't it be beautiful if we could all reunite together as a world and do something amazing like that? Even if it's something that we do locally for our own community, if we all got out and did something a little, contributed to something in some special way in the next 7 days, I know we collectively, as a group of people around the world, could make a very, very big difference. And I think, there's a lot to be said for things like that. I mean, this documentary, the making of this song goes back to 1985, and it was Lionel Richie and Michael Jackson that wrote the song. And it's just beautiful to see how all these people were able to leave their egos sort of at the door and come together collectively and put down one of the most iconic songs of, our lifetime. And it will go on for many, many, many lifetimes. I think it's going to be one of those songs that will go down in history as it did change the world. So if you get a chance to watch it, it's called The Greatest Night of Pop. It was on Netflix here in Australia, and it was an amazing documentary. So I'll leave you with that. USA, Africa, we are the world. Bye for now.